Welcome, Wildcats, as we finish Chapter 1 of Anthem. I was thinking about skipping a few pages, but I just really like the ending of this page and how much characterization we get about equality. I'm going to pick up right here. I might have read this paragraph last time, but oh well. Let's dive right back in. Hope you're enjoying the book so far. We learn more about equality in the society of Anthem. We loved the science of things, and in the darkness, in the secret hour, when we awoke in the night and there were no brothers around us, but only their shapes in the beds and their snores, we closed our eyes, and we held our lips shut, and we stopped our breath, that no shudder might let our brothers see or hear or guess, and we thought that we wished to be sent to the home of scholars when our time would come. All the great modern inventions come from the home of scholars, such as the newest one, which we found only 100 years ago, of how to make candles from wax and string. Also, how to make glass, which is put in our windows to protect us from the rain. To find these things, the scholars must study the earth and learn from the rivers, from the sands, from the winds and the rocks. And if we went to the home of the scholars, we could learn from these also. We could ask questions of these, for they do not forbid questions. And questions give us no rest. We know not why our curse makes us seek we know not what. Hold on, I'm going to read that again, because that was kind of... We know not why our curse makes us seek we know not what. It's an interesting way of saying that. Wow, that's kind of a unique sentence construction here that kind of gives us a little bit more of how they speak in their time period. And again, focusing on that key piece of diction, curse, that keeps reoccurring. All right, and I like that, hey, we also have this isolated phrase after it, and that's why I put the bracket here. All right, because here we could put a comma and continue the phrasing, but no, we have a hard stop. But we cannot resist it. I think this is a very powerful moment where we recognize that there is several times that he says this consumes him. It's more than just, oh, something I like, something that they love and is ever consuming. I'm going to try and just keep reading and stop less and then come back and highlight some things, but I really wanted to stop and point out the beginning of this paragraph in particular. As we continue, but we cannot resist it. It whispers to us that there are great things on this earth of ours, and that we can know them if we try, and that we must know them. We ask, why must we know? But it has no answer to give us. We must know that we may know. So we wish to be sent to the home of the scholars. We wished it so much that our hands trembled under the blankets in the night, and we bit our arm to stop that other pain which we could not endure. It was evil, and we dared not face our brothers in the morning. For men may wish nothing for themselves. And we were punished when the Council of Vocations came to give us our life mandates, which tell those who reach their 15th year what their work is to be for the rest of their days. The Council of Vocations came on the first day of spring, and they sat in the great hall. And we who were 15 and all the teachers came into the great hall, and the Council of Vocation sat on a high dais. And they had put 2 words to speak to each of the students. They called the students' names, and when the students stepped before them, one after another, the council said, carpenter, or doctor, or cook, or leader. Then each student raised their right arm and said, the will of our brothers be done. Now if the council has said carpenter or cook, the students so assigned go to work, and they do not study any further, But if the council said leader, then those students go into the home of the leaders, which is the greatest house in the city, for it has 3 stories, and there they study for many years, so that they may become candidates and be elected to the city council and the state council and the world council by a free and general vote of all men. But we wish not to be a leader, even though it is a great honor. We wish to be a scholar. So we waited our turn in the great hall, and then we heard the council of vocations call our name. Equality 72521. We walked to the dais, and our legs did not tremble, and we looked up at the council. There were 5 members of the council, 3 of the male gender and 2 of the female. Their hair was white, and their faces were cracked as the clay of a dry riverbed. They were old. They seemed older than the marble of the temple of the World Council. They sat before us, and they did not move, and we saw no breath to stir the folds of their white togas. But we knew that they were alive, for a finger of the hand of the oldest rose, pointed to us, and fell down again. This was the only thing which moved, for the lips of the oldest did not move as they said, "Street sweeper." We felt the cords of our neck grow tight as our head rose higher to look upon the faces of the council, and we were happy. We knew we had been guilty, but now we had a way to atone for it. We would accept our life mandate, and we would work for our brothers gladly and willingly, and we would erase our sin against them, which they did not know. But we knew, so we were happy and proud of ourselves and of our victory over ourselves. We raised our right arm and we spoke, and our voice was the clearest, the steadiest voice in the hall that day, and we said, "The will of our brothers be done." And we looked straight into the eyes of the council, but their eyes were as cold blue glass buttons. So we went into the home of the street sweepers. It is a gray house on a narrow street. There is a sundial in its courtyard by which the council of the home can tell the hours of the day and when to ring the bell. I'm going to go ahead and pause here, because this is a quite lengthy paragraph that describes not only the buildings and the roles and kind of the day-to-day life that equality and the other members of their society have. It's very rich and dense in information. But before I get to this rich, dense information, I want to go back and annotate a few things. So again, he's doing something he knows is wrong, which is wanting something for himself, right? And again, we have this word evil reappearing. All right, but no matter what, he wishes to be sent to the home of scholars. Now, my highlighter dried out a little bit because I accidentally left the cap off overnight. But hey, if you have a highlighter that's bleeding through your page a little too much, all right, if you actually leave the cap off for a few hours, it'll dry it out just enough so it doesn't bleed through, but don't leave the cap off overnight, otherwise you'll see it dries out too much. But, oh well, we're going to keep using it because it's still got some life in it. So, evil, dare not face our brothers in the morning. Like, he reacts in a very typical, oh, I'm hiding something type of way. But when they actually get there and he's kind of talking about the different roles, the one I want to focus on real quick is the role of the leaders, right? Which is the greatest house in the city, for it has 3 stories, and this is where for many years they study and can become candidates to be elected. So this also tells us they have a free and general vote of elections. And I want to go backwards for a little bit, and I want to point something out again, and I just want to see if you get the hypocrisy or irony. Right? Through their general election, I guess they can justify the great truth. But a lot of times, all right, they say that we're all the same and we're all one in different ways. And yet, there is a group of individuals that are clearly different and better. All right, according to everyone else, they are greater. So, I know it's easy to see that in this society, but I also want you to think about our own world, in our own society. Are there any like general hypocrisies when people believe something and then we look at the world and it's like, well, no, that's not it. Well, yeah, but no. I want you to think about it. So, because it's easy to point it out from an outside perspective, but then it gets a little trickier when you try to look at something from your own society. Of course, I'm going to let you kind of explore and figure that out for yourself. All right? And if we look at this again, we kind of see that, hey, the council has 3 of the male gender and 2 of the female. So finally we get some women in the book. And, I mean, we also get our assigned role in society, street sweeper. But this is the paragraph I really want to take note of. And this is the one I really wanted to show and annotate. It's that all of a sudden, like, upon the face goes, and we were happy. Is that what you expected Equality's reaction to be when they said street sweeper? Before I saw this paragraph, when I saw street sweeper, I was like, oh, bummer. That's like the worst. Like, that's the most, like, Equality is a curious individual. I mean, I don't think you can really express any curiosity in that role. Unlike maybe even some others like carpentry or doctor or cook, where there is a little bit of expression of individuality in these trades. Even leader, even though he doesn't want that, there's an expression of individuality in how you lead. But street sweeper, I mean, I guess you could throw in some, little dancing and a little fun to it, and that might make you unique towards the others, but at the end of the day, I mean, I don't think that would be accepted in their society. But maybe I could be wrong about the other trades too. Maybe these also aren't allowed to have self-expression. Maybe they all have to do the exact same carpentry from the same model. Maybe their medicine is all the same in different ways, and they've already given us a little taste of what their medicine's like, right? Earlier on. But again, he is happy. He's glad, he's willing, and he says it with the clearest and steadiest voice because he thinks this is his way to atone for his sins. His sins of wanting to be something. His sin of thinking and asking questions. His sin of being too tall. His sin of fighting with his brothers at a young age. This is how he can atone. This is how he can get his I hit the camera there, my bad. He can get his forgiveness he's been so craving. Or has he really been? Because that was just the first paragraph, right? Or maybe a couple other times he's also said that. And of course, we move on to their day-to-day duties. This is something that you really want to make sure you take a look at. All right, hymn of equality, hymn of the collected spirit. You want to take a closer look at kind of the ways, like the midday meal, how they go about their business. All right, especially the ending here. Something that we have noted before in my classes is that their political ruling is incredibly tied to spirituality. Religion and their society is like one and the same. It does feel like a religious state, all right, with how many different aspects of like church is involved in their society on a day-to-day basis. All right. Now, of course, just for time's sake, to finish out this chapter and point out a few other scenes, all right, I'm going to skip to page 29 real quick. All right. Please take a look and do not skip these pages in your own readings. This is just for the sake of time for this video. Such would have been our life. Here we go, page 29. Such would have been our life had we not committed our crime which changed all things for us. Oh, wow. And it was our curse which drove us to our crime. We had been a good street sweeper, and like all our brother street sweepers, save for our cursed wish to know, we looked too long at the stars at night, and at the trees and the earth. And when we cleaned the yard of the home of the scholars, we gathered the glass vials, the pieces of metal, the dried bones which they had discarded. We wished to keep these things to study them, but we had no place to hide them. So we carried them to the city cesspool, and then we made the discovery. It was on a day of the spring before last. We street sweepers work in brigades of 3, and were with Union 53992. They of the half-brain. Oh, that's our bell again. Sorry for that bell. I'm trying to get the timing down a little bit better. But we'll just go ahead and finish this out real quick. Now, Union 53992 are a sickly lad, and sometimes they are stricken with convulsions, when their mouth froths and their eyes turn white. But International 48818 are different. They are a tall, strong youth, and their eyes are like fireflies, for there is laughter in their eyes. We cannot look upon International 48818 and not smile in answer. For this they were not liked in the home of the students, as it is not proper to smile without reason. What? I'm not supposed to smile? And also they were not liked because they took pieces of coal and they drew pictures upon the wall. Wow. We're getting a lot of characterization here of International 48818. Don't seem like too bad of a guy so far. And they were pictures which made men laugh. But it is only our brothers in the home of the artists who are permitted to draw pictures. So International 48818 were sent to the home of the street sweepers, like ourselves. International 48818 and we are friends. This is an evil thing to say, for it is a transgression, the great transgression of preference, to love any among men better than the others. Since we must love all men and all men are friends. So International 48818, and we have never spoken of it. But we know, when we look into each other's eyes, and when we look thus without words, we both know other things also, strange things for which there are no words, and these things frighten us. So on the last day of the spring before last, that day of the spring before last, Union 53992 were stricken with convulsions on the edge of the city near the city theater. We left them to lie in the shade of theater tent, and we went with International 48818 to finish our work. We came together to the great ravine behind the theater. It is empty save for trees and weeds. Beyond the ravine there is a plain, and beyond the plain there lies the uncharted forest, about which men must not think. We were gathering the papers and the rags which the wind had blown from the theater when we saw an iron bar among the weeds. It was old and rusted by many rains. We pulled with all our strength, but we could not move it. So we called International 48818, and together we scraped the earth around the bar. Of a sudden the earth fell in before us, and we saw an old iron grill over a black hole. International 48818 stepped back, but we pulled at the grill and it gave away. And then we saw iron rings as steps leading down a shaft into a darkness without bottom. And that's where we're gonna end on this suspenseful moment. Let's see what International 48818 and Equality have found by finishing out this chapter in the next video. Hope you enjoyed it, Wildcats.